I'm ready to cut the sashing for my quilt blocks. I'm sashing them because I'm afraid they won't look real good side by side. So I want a little border around them to frame each one of them. Unfortunately, I did not have any fabric that I thought would look good with them in quantities large enough to finish the sashing. So I broke down and actually bought fabric. This is just a simple black print. Not solid black, just a black print. So what I want to do here is I want to fold it selvage, make sure the selvages are pretty even there, and fold it towards the middle. And I'm going to pin it. That's just to keep it straight, so when I cut across it, the sashing will be straight, even at the folds. So I'm going to pin it here. Decided my sashing should be about 1 inch. This is 1 inch. That'll make a nice frame for those little 8-inch blocks. So I need to cut my sashing 8.5 inches. And I'm going to do it with a rotary cutter. If you do not have a rotary cutter, you can still do it. Just mark your fabric. Okay, now I'm going to line it up carefully along the edge here, along this edge. And I'm going to take some, it's kind of hanging down on the floor, so I'm going to have to support it. Maybe I should flip it around. You can cut it either way you want. Okay. I think I got 1.5 yards. That should be more than enough. So I want to line it up along the edge here. And I want to straighten it across the top. Okay, so I'm going to take my ruler. Actually, I'm going to pull it out so I can see. Okay, there's my ruler. And I'm going to trim it right there so it'll be straight. I took a little tiny bit of fabric out of it for another project. That's okay. All right, this is, no, that's going to be too tedious. We'll pull it up to the 1 inch mark. Here we go. And 1 inch. Come on, lay still. 1 inch. 1 inch. I'm going to cut it across. Okay, there's my mark. Got 1 inch. Now I'm going to have to line it back up. And I want to go 1.5 inches. We're adding 1/2 inch. I want a 1 inch sash. And that's 1/4 on one side and 1/4 on the other side for seam allowances. And that gives me 1.5 inches. And I'm going to cut several of them here. And I'm going to have to move it a little bit to catch my marks. I'm doing it on my little tiny one because it's easier to film, to record that way. So 1.5 inches. There's one. I think I've got a burr on my rotary cutter. So I'll put that one aside and grab the other one. I have more than one of these. Okay, so here's my sashing. Real simple. There's one piece. We'll have to cut several pieces. Now think about it. This will do about 40 inches worth, or 5 blocks. I want to do at least 25, and I need a sashing going down one side and then coming across, so that when my next block that has one on the bottom and one going up, it'll finish the sashing. So I'll need about, I don't know, 6 or 7 of these to start with. And of course I can continue cutting them as I need them, instead of having a whole bunch sitting here and there. I'll cut them as I need them. Okay, another 1.5 inches. Move the pin out of the way. Make sure I got 1.5 inches there. I think this might not be even as... I have a sharpener for these that I use, but I'm cutting 4 layers of fabric here all at once. And there we go. It's 2. Now I can remove that pin. Move it down here again. Trying to keep it even. 1.5 inches. 1.5 inches. That's 2. And I got a little wandering here, so let's fix that. I might have to press this. We'll see how it'll work. Okay, that gives me 4 of them. That's enough to get started. Here's our block. We need 8.5 inches to go across the bottom. But when we put that on, we're going to increase this by 1 inch. So we need 9.5 inches to go the other direction. Like this. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll cut 8.5 and 9.5 inch ones. Now, I'm going to do more than one at a time. I'm going to do half of them 8.5 and half of them 9.5. And we'll do several blocks. Okay. Oh, what if I turned it around the other way and we could work it easier? Okay. Okay, here's 8.5. I'm going to cut the selvage off. We don't want that. What if I do it this way? We're going to line that up here. There's my 1, 2, 3, 4, 8.5. That's enough to do 2. Pull it back up. This would be easier if I had my big mat, but this will work. 8.5. 8.5. 8.5. Now, our others need to be 9.5, and I probably won't get quite as many out of it. Oh, those are scraps for my next quilt. Okay, let's take a couple of them here. Open these up. Oh, those are the ones we just finished. Okay. Now, I probably want to put these together because I want to make sure I keep them straight. These are my 8.5 inch ones. Okay, now let's pull a couple of these up and we'll do 9.5. Okay. And again, I'm going to cut my selvage off. There's just a little bit there. I'm going to cut that. Now these need to be 9.5. one. The sashing does a couple of things for us. It makes our blocks little picture frames. It also will make our blocks uniform in size, even though they may not be exactly 8.5 inches. It will help size them. And there's the 9.5. And there we go. Now, it's time to sew some. And I will be right back. Okay, we've got our sashing for one side and sashing for the second side. We're only doing two sides because when we put those blocks together, they're going to make frames. I'll show you. All right, I want to orient my blocks in a specific way, and this is just arbitrary. Which one do I want to be down and which one do I want to be to the left? Okay, I think I want this down and that to the left. So I'm going to lay my 8.5 inch sashing on the bottom. Okay, on the first one. And you notice it pretty well fits, but I'm going to start it at the top and I'm going to make sure it encases the hole. That's one. Now I'm not going to bother cutting it right now. I'll cut them all at once. Okay, let's get our next one. Now, which one of these do I want to the bottom? How about that? I think we want this to the bottom. Line that up. Since they're all pressed, it should go rather quickly. Notice I'm not using a lot of pins. There's really no need to because I'm going to line this up at the bottom, making sure it's there, and it's only 8.5 inches. This is a scant 1/4 inch. Next one. Okay. I think we want this to be our bottom and that to be our side. This just looks darker, and so if I put the darks at the bottom and the next one over here, we'll have sort of a light dark contrast. And like I said, these help you keep the blocks all sized neatly. Okay, here's another block. Oh, this one's irrelevant. It's pretty well the same all the way around. Here we go. Now, I'll continue sewing until I run out of strips. All right, I have sewed several of the bottom part on, and now it's time to sew the other side on. I'll show you how to do that. Normally, I just open it up like that. I had those all pinned together, so I'm going to have to unpin them. Okay. Finger press that open. Lay this piece here. And just start sewing. And we're going to sew those the same way. One after the other. When we're finished, we can clip them apart. Make sure you fit down here. Just pull, tug. People don't understand it, but fabric is quite stretchy. Non-knit fabric stretches. Not a lot, but a little. Enough to work them just the way you need them. And the next one, this is the bottom. So this will be the left-hand side. Got a couple stitches in. Even this up at the other end. I don't even bother pinning it. I've got two hands. I can guide it there. Next one. And we continue to do this until we finish the whole pile. I like this one. This is one I made earlier. When we put this quilt together, we're going to put it together into 4 sections, and then we'll stitch the 4 sections together and finish it off. It makes it easier for me. That way I don't have to struggle with a big quilt frame. And I do not own a long arm machine. This is a rather long one here, but it's still not a long arm machine like the ones the commercial people use. We just keep going. So we'll press these. I'll get at least 30 or so finished, and then we can put a 5x5 section together. And we want to do that because I changed my mind. I'm going to make it 9 this way and 9 this way, and then I'm going to put a border on them. And that'll give me about 90-inch square quilt, which will be big enough for a queen-size bed. Not with a lot of extra, but it'll cover it. A friend of mine who's no longer with us showed me this technique. And I tried it once, and that's the last time I ever set my big quilt frame up. Or struggled with a whole quilt on this machine here. I've done that before too, but it's not fun. And another one. These go rather quickly. Now, I'll press these and do some more, and then I'll show you how to set together our first section.